Hello, everyone. Ron Trotto, TC Computer Consulting. Happy 4th of July weekend. Woohoo. Enjoy that beautiful weather. It looks like we're actually going to have a little bit of sun, maybe. So that's awesome. But sincerely wishing you a very happy July 4th. Hope you're in good health and able to do something fun this weekend. Aside from that, unfortunately, there is a huge global supply chain cyber event that happened yesterday, and to be honest, it's hit pretty close to home for us. So, first and foremost, we're good. Our clients appear to be good. Everything seems to be good there. A little bit of luck, a lot of hard work. This is where we're sitting. Uh, Not everyone was as fortunate. It looks like there's uh, at least 1,000 companies that have been ransomed as an end result of this supply chain issue. The issue is that a 0 day vulnerability. Now, what is a 0 day? A 0 day is something that basically there's some vulnerability in a product, uh, typically not known by the manufacturer at the time. But the 0 day lasts up until when the patch is released for that. So they had a 0 day event that allowed the threat actors to install software which ransomed um, all of these small businesses. Now, there's a few. It's way too early to tell real numbers. It's way too early to talk about the vulnerability. It's way too early to talk about a lot of the pieces other than pure speculation. So anything that I'm saying is only what I've heard through channels that are kind of our back channels where we support each other. But it sounds like they're pretty spot on. I would expect that number to go up in terms of number of companies affected by this. Now, there's a few things I want to talk about, though. Um, the first thing is that the company that was compromised, they are not a young company. They are not a startup. They are a mature company with a mature product. In some regards, they're the Cadillac of what they do. Um, and they got hit, and not in a way that Solar Winds got hit. They got hit with a vulnerability in the product. Solar Winds got hit with the failure to do some basic IT administrative stuff. Um, you know, we look at these attacks, and there's a lot of a lot of stones that are thrown at the companies whose products facilitate this, and we just don't do that until we have all of the facts in place. So there's no throwing the vendor underneath the bus at this point. Um, in fact, there's a lot of compliments on the way that they've handled it. They immediately told everyone, let's shut things down. Let's see what's going on. Kept people updated throughout the night. Another couple updates this morning. We have a pretty good idea of what has happened now and when we're going to be back online and able to do stuff again using that tool. So, in that regard, they had a plan in place. It's clear that they had some sort of a semblance of a plan, at least. So, I'm not unhappy about that. Was it concerning when it happened? Obviously, it's one of the tools that we use. But through a little bit of luck, like I said, the luck was that it doesn't look like our server was compromised. But through a lot of hard work, we weren't really kind of like this is the end of the world moment. It was a sinking feeling of you know, kind of kind of that moment. But the key here, and one of the things that I wanna talk about is having a plan, just like they responded to this from their plan, from their playbook. Uh, I was able to sit down and go through our incident response playbook, which took a lot of the fear out of the process. And the fear actually led to a little bit of uh, euphoria as we saw that none of our clients had any of the indications of compromise as we went through one by one. Um, it was really comforting to have that there. The second thing is that, again, I don't want to bash the vendor on this unless something comes out otherwise, but we're in a position that we've been talking about for a long time. It's not a matter of if you're going to get a cyber event occurrence. It's just not a matter of if, it's a matter of when it's going to happen. In the overall thing I want to talk about is that everything has changed for you as a small business in regards to technology. It happened over the last few years. It's really accelerated over the last year. What am I talking about? Everything has changed. I'm going to give you an example. 5 years ago, we had 3 different tiers of service. And to be honest, the difference between the lowest tier and the highest tier was how much insurance we put in for you to make sure that the systems were up. And I want to say insurance and assurance, that the systems were up and everything was going the way that they should. And you had this and that. And it was really just a matter of layering on additional product and services and management into things to make sure that we're delivering at whatever level. Why did we do that? Well, because there were people that could afford a certain amount of IT and there were people that couldn't. So we had to do that to be viable in the marketplace. Fast forward to today, there's really only one security option for your business, and that is the one that is most appropriate for your business. You don't have the option of pulling out things. You don't have the option of making some core decisions in there, and here's why. As this security has become more complex and more well-defined and greater scope, it's really changed. And, I don't equate us to doctors at any level, but if you're having heart surgery, first of all, when you're having heart surgery, do you go and price search? No, you don't. You want to go to the best doctor. So let's start with that. Second of all, when you get to the best doctor, do you go, hey, doc, do you think you should be using that for the incision instead of that? Or, because that looks expensive and that, you don't do that. Why? Because there's one thing on your mind, and that's getting you fixed, right? So, and again, not that we're equating ourselves to doctors, but we're getting to that point in time where the specialty is so incredibly complex, and the education level and everything around it is so complex. We're at that level where we can't do good by a small business if we're letting them make their own choices, being uninformed. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't additional options, that there aren't additional. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you don't have any choice. You can always enhance. But now we're at a point in time where this is what's required as a bare minimum. It's non-negotiable anymore. And you know who's really going to push that point this year? The insurance companies. They lost their shirts last year on cyber claims. So we're seeing, as people are renewing, the complexity of the questionnaire that they give you, the amount of things that they're looking for, and their willingness to walk away without even upping your rate. They'll just say you're not coverable. Kind of argues that, yeah, there's a bare minimum acceptable piece of security that you have to have in place now. That didn't exist 3 years ago. It certainly didn't exist 5 years ago. Things have changed. So if you spent $400 a year because every other year you had to buy a new computer, and that was the extent of your cyber or your technology spend, you sign the lease on the copier for 5 years, and that's the other expense. And, you had to run out to Best Buy and get a new Linksys or whatever to replace, or Belkin to replace something inside your office. Those days are gone. That's not acceptable use for a business. Now, even if you don't store data on your systems that would be considered valuable by anyone, it's not so much even about the data as it is about your access to your vendors and your clients. Now, this was a global supply chain attack. You also have a tool that everyone uses that's a global supply chain tool, and it's called email. It's one of the most valuable things on the dark web right now is to get a email address in a small company. Um, and the more power that you have in the company, C-level, purchasing person, accounting, the more power that you will have to extort money from not only the vendors who could potentially ACH to a false account sent by you, or to worse yet, your clients who are now looking for their product that they ordered or the deal that you made them, and you're not going to deliver because you know nothing about it because it didn't happen, but yet they already paid for it. So they're going to hold you accountable for it if it was done through your stuff. New way of thinking. We didn't have to worry about this really that much 3 years or 5 years ago. We weren't doing and requesting ACH transfers that much 5 years ago. Technology wasn't so tuned and involved in our businesses as it is today. So, the big takeaway from this is, first, everything has changed. Second, it's not a matter of if you're going to get something, it's a matter of when. And this is not a death and gloom and doom and everything sales pitch. This is me telling you from one business owner to another who's seeing it day in, day out. There is truth to this. So, what can you do? Well, first thing to do is to get educated on it. I'm going to accelerate the heck out of our series. I was going to start it up again in September. We've got so much stuff happening, and now it looks like that some of that Microsoft code base that might have gotten looked at during the SolarWinds hack thing, we might be seeing kind of a meteor shower of 0-day stuff coming from that, possibly. So I want to get you as prepared as possible, because really at the end of the day, it's that third thing I want to talk about was that plan. That plan. Having that plan in place is going to save your bacon. At the end of the day, it's going to save your bacon. If you know something's going to happen and you're prepared for it, you're going to survive it most of the time. If you're not prepared for it, it's going to take you out. And we didn't get through the pandemic to be taken out by some stupid cyber event. So let's get those plans in place. To get those plans in place, you need to get some education. You need to understand where you are. You need to understand where your risk is. Let's just have a chat. Make it a 15-minute chat about your business, free of charge. Let's do that. Let's have a 15-minute chat. Let's talk about where you're at. Let's talk about some potential pitfalls and identify kind of, anything that we can talk about in 15 minutes to see how much risk you have in your business today, to see if you even need to go to the next step. Maybe you don't have supply chain issues in your email. Maybe your email is taken care of 100%. Well, as close as to 100% as you can get these days. Maybe you don't have data on your systems. Maybe it's all already taken care of. But if you're not sure, it's a good time to have a conversation, to talk about it. And be especially careful of answering those cybersecurity questions for your cybersecurity insurance, because if you, even through no fault of your own, check the box because you thought you were covered on something, but you really weren't, the insurance doesn't really look at that. They look at whether or not you were. So you may not even have coverage at that point. So let's have a discussion. Let's get that on the table. Let's talk about it. Good news for us in our little community here all around is I haven't heard of anyone being affected by this yet. That's fantastic. Again, we're good. We're solid here. That's fantastic. So a little bit to celebrate about today, in addition to our July 4th long holiday weekend. And I will leave you on that note. Again, reach out to us, put a comment down in social media. Let me know your thoughts. If you hung out with me this long, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I really hope you have a great holiday weekend. So long.